down to get out of here, to leave the cell. And that's evidently not the case right now. So tornado warning in effect until 12:45 right now, until 12:45 in Monroe County. But the radar does a great job of showing us that this circulation has been holding together for about an hour now. It came up from near Toledo. We did not have reports of tornadoes in and around Toledo, but as this storm got up closer to Monroe, the rotation got a bit tighter, and that is why the National Weather Service has put out a tornado warning for this one particular cell. We're going to zoom in, and we're going to put the velocity scope back up, and we're going to loop it, because again, you get the feel for that rotation. Some rotation up there in the area of Brownstown, that's crossing into Wayne County, and it's not uncommon to get more than one area of spin in some of these stronger cells. So we're still dealing with Monroe County, the tornado warning until 12:45, but obvious some spin is now getting closer to Wayne County. If you're watching from Waltz, if you're watching from Brownstown, if you're watching from Flat Rock, if you're watching from Ash in Monroe County, you should be inside and you should be staying inside until the storm weakens or passes. Remember, the best place to get a hold of us is fox2detroit.com and our Facebook page with any kinds of reports of down trees, power outages, or any information you have. Again, it is a very late hour. These storms can be particularly dangerous at night, because in the daytime you can see them coming from a long way away. The sky gets dark, but at nighttime most of us are in bed getting ready for bed, and these storms can come up on any given community very, very quickly. We're hoping that's not the case. Remember, the Doppler radar doesn't show us where the tornado is. The Doppler radar shows us where the strong rotation is. So the question is that rotation on the ground? Is it down at the surface? And it's not easily discerned from radar data alone. The best confirmation of a tornado warning is when someone either sees it or there is damage. We don't have any confirmation yet, and that's a good thing. But again, a tornado warning continues until 12:45. Right now it is 12:22, and obviously we are going to stay with it here at the Fox 2 Weather Authority until this storm weakens or it passes. But just notice the direction. It is moving generally from south to north, and that spin is going to be getting up into southern Wayne County in the next 15 or 20 minutes. And as a result, we're going to be riding this storm out here, and we hope you're safe at home. But if you're watching from northern Monroe County, from Exeter, from Ash, also Waltz and Flat Rock, these are communities in Wayne County, you should be inside, staying inside until this storm passes. This is a dangerous storm. There was rotation earlier down in Ohio a couple of hours ago, and some of these cells have moved up into Michigan now. It's Wayne County. Now, we have about 4,000 people currently under a tornado warning. So again, in this part of Wayne County, it's pretty rural. But again, that rotation is still pretty tight right there, approaching Exeter, approaching Ash. These are communities in Monroe County. It's still well to the north of Monroe. So Monroe, city of Monroe, you're in the clear now, but that rotation again is getting up close to the Monroe-Wayne County border, south of the airport. Again, a good reference point is I-275. I-275 is only there for a short distance in Monroe County, but that's where the strong rotation is indicated. There's I-275, and there's that signature, the reds and the greens coming together in that ball. There's Ash. There's Waltz, there's Willow, Flat Rock. Those are communities in Wayne County. We're going to go back to our reflectivity, and we're going to put this into loop. And there's the tornado warning. It's behind the data. You can see that red V shape behind the data. That's the tornado warning. That's the part of Monroe County that's under the warning. But then when we put the velocity scope up and then we loop it, you really get a sense for that rotation, that tight rotation there. Very close, to I-275 in Monroe County. That's the bullseye right now of strong rotation. There's Brownstown and there's Sumter Township, not all that far to the north. Of course, the airport there close to I-94 and 275. You're still up there a ways in terms of this tight circulation. But the circulation indicates that there is a possibility of a tornado close to I-275 in Monroe County. A couple of great ways to get a hold of us. It's fox2detroit.com and also our Facebook page. We understand it's a very late hour. This is a rural part of Monroe County. There's not a lot of population centers, but nonetheless, if you have any reports that we would be interested in, get those to us, and then we can pass them along to our viewers. Let's go back to our warning map, and there's the warning, tornado warning until 12:45 for Monroe County. But when we go back to the data itself, that cell is still showing signs of circulation, and it looks ominous. From the reflectivity data, you can see the circulation, but when we get down into it further and show you the velocity data, and then we loop it, it's easy to see that there is circulation very close, if not along I-275 in Monroe County. That's the center of the circulation right now. You should be inside, you should be staying inside, you should be away from windows in this part of Monroe County. If you're watching from Flat Rock, if you're watching from Huron, from Waltz, you should also be inside, staying inside and away from windows as this storm approaches from the south. These nighttime storms can be very dangerous because when you look out the window, you don't see much, and these storms can come up on any given community very, very quickly, and that's why we always tell people to be away from windows, because it can go from calm to wind gusts in excess of 60 or 70 miles per hour in just a few seconds. It doesn't take long at all for these storms to produce those kinds of wind gusts. Now, we don't have a lot of confirmation of wind gusts, damaging wind gusts in Monroe County. But we're certainly watching it, as is the National Weather Service up in White Lake, and we just don't see this kind of rotation very often. It's been a very quiet severe weather season over the last 9 or 10 weeks. We have not had a lot of active weather. We certainly had some storms last Thursday move through Washington and Wayne counties with some damaging wind gusts, but we did not see rotation like we're seeing tonight. Still, that rotation holding together. It'll be very interesting to see if they upgrade the warning into Wayne County. Official warnings come from the National Weather Service, and again, that rotation is right there, close to I-275 in Monroe County. That's where the strong rotation is. That's where the damaging wind gusts are possible, and we encourage our viewers, our listeners, to be inside and stay inside until it all passes. Let's go back to our warning map. It's just the one warning in Monroe County until 12:45. We also have this flash flood watch in effect for a good chunk of the area. With these heavy rains, we may see some ponding of water on the roadways, but there's not a lot of people out this late at night. It is coming up on 12:30. 12:30, we have this one strong cell moving from Monroe County into Wayne County as we speak. The rotation was certainly tighter. It was stronger 30, 40 minutes ago as it was over central Monroe County. But when we use our velocity scope, when we use the velocity data, and then we loop it, we can still see some spin right there along I-275 in Monroe County. But we should tell our listeners, our viewers, there's Waltz, and there's Flat Rock, there's Brownstown, there's Huron Township. These are areas in Wayne County that are going to see some of this strong weather. Whether the rotation holds together for another 5, 10, 20 minutes, it's hard to know. It's very, very hard to know. But this storm has been producing this strong rotation now for almost 40 minutes. And it is getting up into an area close to Wayne County. So let's reset it for you and show you that we have this one tornado warning in north central Monroe County. The warning is set to expire at 12:45. We'll go back to our reflectivity data and show you very heavy rainfall. Those are the reds, the oranges you're seeing there. Very heavy rain. Certainly some gusty winds, perhaps some hail embedded within. But when we look further into this one cell and we use our velocity data and then we loop it, you can easily see the spin that's been coming up through Monroe County over these last 40 minutes. We don't have a lot of confirmation with damage or power outages, but if you know of any damage or if you have any reports of severe weather, please get those to us, fox2detroit.com, and also our Facebook page. It'll come right to our assignment desk, and then we can pass it on to our viewers. But looks like the circulation is not as tight as it was, thankfully. As it's getting up close to Brownstown, it's getting up into the Flat Rock area. It doesn't look quite as strong, the rotation, and that's a good thing. Thankfully, the storm may be weakening a bit. We're going to go back to our reflectivity data and show you that tornado warning. It's behind the data. It's that dark red box there for a small part of Monroe County. There's Ash, and there's Exeter. There's Waltz up there. Now, Waltz, again, is in Wayne County, and that warning does not include Wayne County as of yet, and it may not. The rotation appears to be weakening a bit. We can loop this data here, get a good idea that that strong spin that we had when that storm was down closer to Monroe is now breaking up a bit. So that's a great sign. That's a great sign here at this very late hour. It's now 12:31. We're getting heavy rain at the TV station. We can hear the rumbles outside. We're up in Southfield, but the radar data is still indicating some rotation down over extreme northern Monroe County. We'll loop this data, and you can see that strong spin is now not as strong as it's getting closer to Wayne County. So perhaps this storm is weakening a bit as it's crossing from Wayne County, crossing from Monroe County into Wayne County. This storm could be weakening a bit as it's getting closer to Flat Rock, also Brownstown, Waltz, and Huron. You're certainly getting some heavy rains in these areas, but it's the rotation that really tells us where the tornado or potential tornado is spinning right there close to the Monroe-Wayne County border, very close to I-275. That rotation is right there along I-275 in Monroe County. We're going to put it right there, and we're going to pause it. So here, right along 275, Monroe County, that's where the strongest rotation is still being indicated. We're going to loop it again for you. Tornado warning continues until 12:45 for Monroe County. We don't have a lot of confirmation of the weather that's occurred over Monroe County in these last 40 minutes. Most of Monroe County is pretty rural, so it could very well be that some strong storms have crossed Monroe County, but because they haven't affected communities, because they haven't affected people, it's hard to know exactly where that damage is. But this rotation continues to churn from Monroe County up into Wayne County, and the best we can do is tell you where this storm is going. We'll show you those communities: Waltz and Huron, Flat Rock, and Brownstown. You're in the path of this rotation. So even though there is not a tornado warning for Wayne County, there is still evidence that there is some strong rotation very close to the Wayne-Monroe County border, right along I-275 in Monroe County. Let me pause it, and there's the reds and the greens right there. There's the interstate, and there's the rotation. Yep, it's a late hour for severe weather in southeast Michigan. Not very common. Certainly it's been a quiet severe weather season, but here we are in this late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning. 12:35 is the time, and tornado warning continues for another 10 minutes or so in Monroe County. We're going to go back to the reflectivity data, and the strongest part of the storm, the heaviest rains, moving into Wayne County as we speak. So we can zoom in and show you some of those areas. There's Huron Township, there's Brownstown, there's Waltz, right there along 275 in southern Wayne County. There's the airport, there's Romulus. Very heavy rainfall along I-94 from Romulus over to Taylor, a very heavy rainfall. But it's the velocity scope that shows us where that rotation continues, and it is still there along I-275 in Monroe County, that rotation. We're going to loop it for you. So if you're watching from an area near I-275 in Monroe County, you should be inside. You should stay inside until this storm weakens and passes. It is showing some signs of weakening. The rotation is not as tight as it was about 30 minutes ago, but some of the more populated parts of Wayne County are coming up. There's Flat Rock, there's Brownstown, of course further north is Riverview, and there's Taylor. This rotation is continuing to show a bit of weakening. It's opening up a bit. It's not as tight as what it was. But until that tornado warning gets canceled or discontinued from the Weather Service, we are going to stay with it. Right now it is 12:36. We're going to show you that small tornado warning still in effect for north central Monroe County. There has been widespread reports of moderate heavy rainfall, but the rotation is what the radar tells us. So the rain in and of itself is not a major problem until you get a lot of heavy rainfall, but the rain has been widespread across the area. We're going to zoom out and show you that cell that's been holding together for the last 45 minutes. Clearly, the heaviest rain is now moving up close to the airport, Metro Airport. There's Wayne, there's Dearborn, there's Taylor, there's Inkster, all dealing with very heavy rainfall. And thankfully, it's a very late hour, so not a lot of people are out. But the radar also showing that strong rotation very close to the Wayne-Monroe County border. We're going to loop that for you. And we'll go back a bit and show you how that rotation has come up from the Monroe area, approaching Brownstown Township, but it does show signs of weakening. So if you're watching, you should be inside, you should stay inside, you should be away from windows, anywhere along I-275 in Monroe County, moving up into the Flat Rock area, into Brownstown. There is no tornado warning for Wayne County. It still continues for a part of Monroe County only, and that's a good thing. We're hoping this storm continues to weaken, and because of the late hour, certainly there's not a lot of people out and about, and these storms are going to be long gone by the time sunrise comes Wednesday morning. It is 12:38, and we're watching very strong storms crossing the border region of Wayne and Monroe counties. Let's go back to the reflectivity data. There it is. So all of the reds, all of the yellows and oranges are showing where that very heavy rainfall is. But on the southern flank of this one cluster, there has been some strong rotation over the last 45 to 50 minutes. We can zoom in and show you, and we're going to loop it as well, that there is still some rotation left along I-275 in Monroe County, but clearly it's not as tight. Here comes David Blanks. The number of people under a tornado warning is increasing only because this spin is getting closer to more populated areas. It's now about 15,000 people under a tornado warning, and it's still Monroe County that has the warning. It is not, I repeat, it is not in Wayne County, but that spin continues to hold together very close to the Wayne-Monroe County border region. If you're watching from Ash, there's South Rockwood, there's Rockwood and Flat Rock. I'll leave this map up. You can see some of those communities that have a bit more population. Certainly Flat Rock and Rockwood have more people. As this circulation spins up closer to Wayne County, we just encourage people to stay inside until this storm passes. Great way to get us information at our TV station, an easy, quick way is fox2detroit.com or our Facebook page. Very easy ways. We have people working the desk 24 hours, and they can get any reports of damage right out to me on the quick. So again, it's a late hour. It's coming up on 12:40 right now. There's not a lot of strong rotation left with this cell. The tornado warning continues for that small part of Monroe County, and I'll show it to you on a map. There it is. That's really close to I-275 in Monroe County. That's where the strong rotation continues, but the rotation is starting to spin down a bit. It's starting to weaken. So perhaps there will not be a tornado warning for Wayne County, even though some of these very heavy downpours are getting up into the area near Metro Airport, near Taylor. Well, I'll zoom it in and show you. There's Inkster, there's Dearborn, Lincoln Park, Dearborn Heights, all getting torrential rains. And it's a good thing that it's a late hour in that sense, because not a lot of people are out and about. We're going to loop it and show you how these rains are coming up from the south. There's I-275. And I'm happy to say that the rotation with this cell is clearly weakening. We're going to show you the velocity scope, and we're going to loop it. I'm going to put my glasses on, David Blanks. I'm going to read a report. Numerous trees down throughout Monroe County, with the most being around Carlton. So it looks like there have been some reports of trees down near Carlton, that's in Monroe County, with this particular cell. But thankfully, that tight spin that we've been watching for the last, well, close to an hour now, that tight spin is starting to relax. Still some gusty winds, still some torrential rains moving through parts of Wayne County now. We're going to go back to our reflectivity data, because that's a great look at the widespread rainfall occurring over Wayne County. Parts of Oakland and Macomb counties are also seeing very heavy rainfall at this late hour. But the rotation that was down over Monroe County is weakening as it gets closer to Brownstown, as it gets closer to Flat Rock. So if you're watching and you're inside, you're in the best place to be. Because of the late hour, not a lot of people are out and about. And that's a good thing when we have these late night storms. And there are times when, you know, some of the strongest, more dangerous storms can be these late night storms, because people are inside and they're not aware. But that's why we're here. We're just watching the radar closely. We have a couple of minutes left until this tornado warning in Monroe County expires at 12:45. So let's use our velocity scope again. We'll loop it. And you can see that spin that was down near Monroe about an hour ago. The rotation is up into Wayne County now, but clearly it's not as strong, and that's why it is likely a tornado warning will not be issued for Wayne County. So we're going to be getting off here shortly. I'm going to step over back to the wall, Jeremy, so we can end this at 12:45 as this tornado warning passes. Obviously, you'll want to watch Derek and Jessica starting at 4:30. That's only 4 hours from now, and they'll have a full update for you. We're going to go back to our reflectivity data, and then I'm going to step in front of the wall. It's been an interesting hour of television. We weren't expecting severe weather, but nonetheless, Mother Nature can trick us. Usually does. There's this spin with this one warning that's come up through Wayne County now, but an hour ago the strong spin was down over Monroe County, and that's why there was a tornado warning for Monroe County. Now the strongest part of the storm is up into Wayne County, but the rotation, I'm happy to say, is weakening. So yes, there are some heavy downpours, some lightning, some thunder, perhaps some small hail, but now for the next couple of hours it's going to be just some heavy rains in pockets, and this storm will likely produce some heavy rainfall as it crosses Dearborn and Southfield up to Sterling Heights as well. I'm going to step back over and just to double check this warning has expired. Yeah, we're almost at the end here. We have about a minute left for this tornado warning in Monroe County, and you can see the colors of this cell are not as deep and dark and red, indicative that this cell is weakening a bit. Let's go back to the velocity scope one more time, and we're going to loop it and show you that spin. There is still a spin there, but it's not a tight spin as this storm is working through the downriver communities, producing very heavy rainfall. That's for sure. Let's go back to our reflectivity. That'll give us a good look at where the rainfall is. Now we should see that tornado warning. Well, it looks like they just put another tornado warning out for that same circulation in Wayne County. There it is. That's a brand new tornado warning. This is now in effect until 1:15. So now we're getting into a more populated part of our viewing area. Let's zoom back in. And that rotation continues to be there. It is not as strong, but the tornado warning now for Wayne County until 1:15. We're going to get the particulars of that warning. There are also a couple of flash flood warnings now for Monroe and Wayne County. Yeah, there's the flood warnings for parts of Monroe and Wayne County because of the very heavy rainfall in some local areas. But of more importance is that tornado warning right there in Wayne County. And this circulation is holding together. It's not as tight. We're going to show you that velocity scope again. But now we're talking about a much more populated part of our viewing area. And that's why the Weather Service is erring on the side of caution. This is a tornado warning for Riverview, close to Taylor. There's Lincoln Park and Wyandotte. So if you're watching from our downriver communities, you should be inside and you should be away from windows. This is a small tornado warning in Wayne County until 1:15. For the downriver communities especially. There are still some signs of circulation. You may be hearing sirens going off now that we're getting into a much more populated part of Wayne County. There's Wyandotte, there's Lincoln Park. Again, I'm going to loop the velocity data for you. And there is still a circulation. It's not, it's close to Taylor right now. There's Brownstown, there's Taylor, there's I-75. I'm going to zoom in for you and show you where this circulation is. There's Taylor, there's Southgate, there's Lincoln Park, there's Melvindale. These are the downriver communities. That's where this circulation is churning at the current hour. The time is 12:47, and what we have is a tornado warning. We have a tornado warning for Wayne County until 1:15. So a tornado warning until 1:15 for Wayne County, and clearly with the velocity data, it's these downriver communities that are being affected. So you should be inside, you should be staying inside. We're going to zoom right in and show you all the communities that are under this tornado warning. There's Taylor, there's Lincoln Park, Southgate. The strong circulation is along Telegraph Road, close to Taylor. There's Greenfield Village. There is some circulation up there as far as Dearborn. There's Melvindale, Lincoln Park. These are all parts of Wayne County that have this tornado warning until 1:15. So we're dealing with the heavy rain. We're dealing with a couple of flood warnings for parts of Monroe and Wayne County. But the pressing thing right now is this circulation that has come up from the Toledo region. It crossed Monroe County in the last hour, and now this circulation is right there in the downriver communities. Again, you may be hearing sirens going off in all of the downriver areas, from Inkster to Taylor, Brownstown, over to Melvindale, Lincoln Park, Dearborn. This strong circulation may be affecting southwest Detroit as well. So if you're watching from downriver areas of Wayne County, you should be inside, staying inside, away from windows until the storm weakens or passes. We're going to go back to our tornado map, our tornado warning map, and there it is. That's a small part of Wayne County. It is not up there close to downtown Detroit. It is not as far north as Livonia, but we'll zoom back in and show you where this strong rotation continues. Let's show you first the data. We're going to loop it for you. There it is. So there's the heavy rain for Taylor, for Inkster, for Livonia, for Dearborn. But when we look inside the storm with the velocity data, where the reds and the greens come together, and we loop it, you can see that there is a clear spin in the atmosphere. Now remember, the Doppler radar doesn't show us where the tornado is, it just shows us where the strong rotation is. And if that strong rotation is down near the ground, then perhaps a tornado is crossing parts of the downriver area. We are going to stay with this here until 1:15. That is when the tornado warning will expire for parts of Wayne County. But Wayne County is large, very populated, but it's the downriver areas that are seeing this strong rotation. There's Taylor, Inkster. The rotation will be up as far north as Dearborn shortly. So we're telling all of our viewers, all of our listeners, to stay inside, away from windows in the lowest part of the house. If you have any information for us, if you have information of damage, please get that to us. Fox2Detroit.com is the easiest way. Our Facebook page, also very easy way to get us information here in the Fox 2 newsroom. Let's read you the warning. That tornado warning for central Wayne County, that's until 1:15. Again, this is a radar indicated tornado. Areas in the downriver regions, Wyandotte, moving up towards Dearborn and Greenfield Village between now and 1:15. So that rotation close to Taylor, close to Riverview. There's Wyandotte. There's Lincoln Park. There's Telegraph Road right there from Taylor up to Dearborn Heights. That's all along Telegraph Road. And that strong rotation is crossing that part of Wayne County. So tornado warning for parts of Wayne County to include the downriver areas until 1:15. We've had reports of trees down when this storm was down over Monroe County for the last hour, but now this strong rotation, this storm is up in Wayne County. And so don't be surprised if you're going to deal with power outages tonight, especially in the downriver areas. There's Dearborn, Inkster, there's Taylor, seeing this strong rotation crossing that part of Wayne County. There's Livonia at the top of the depiction. There's Hamtramck. Certainly the strong rotation is not that far north, but it's easy to see this rotation has come up from Monroe County into Wayne County. And that is why a tornado warning continues until 1:15 for Wayne County. There's Taylor, there's Inkster, there's Dearborn, Melvindale, Lincoln Park, Southgate. Again, you may be hearing sirens going off in all of the downriver areas. And the reason being is this strong rotation lifting up through your part of Wayne County. The tornado warning for Monroe County has ended. The storm has left Monroe County, but now the same storm is up into Wayne County. Don't have any reports, any ground truth of tornadic damage in Wayne County, but the radar is indicating this strong rotation right over the downriver areas of Wayne County. There's Taylor, Inkster, there's Dearborn, Dearborn Heights. You may be hearing sirens going off in all of these areas for good reason. We don't see this kind of strong rotation in southeast Michigan very often. But here we are at this very late hour, 12:53, coming up on 1 o'clock in the morning. And the velocity data is showing this rotation centered over Taylor. There's some more rotation right over Dearborn right now. So we encourage all of our viewers and listeners to be inside, away from windows, in the lowest part of your house. These tornadoes, these strong rotation areas can be very unpredictable. It can be in one spot and literally be in a different spot moments later. These rotations can skip along the ground. They can do very unusual things. And so we have to warn our viewers when these kinds of rotations are visible on radar like they are right now in the downriver areas of Wayne County. We want our viewers to get inside and stay inside until this storm passes. Away from windows, by all means away from windows. It looked like this cell was weakening a bit as it crossed from Monroe into Wayne County, but it has tightened up for sure in the last 5 or 10 minutes. Again, there is rotation there. You can easily see it. There is a spin inside this one cell crossing central Wayne County right now. the sirens could very well be affecting many communities in Wayne County, but the strong rotation is from Taylor up to Dearborn Heights, Melvindale, Lincoln Park, Inkster, all seeing this strong rotation lifting through. The tornado warning will expire at 1:15. That's still in 20 more minutes. Very dangerous tonight out there. It is a late hour. Most of us are inside, and that's a good thing, but these storms can come up quickly. So that's why we encourage our listeners, our viewers, to get inside. This rotation is tightening up a bit. Taylor and Inkster and Dearborn, central Wayne County, Dearborn Heights. Downtown Detroit is right on the fringe of this rotation. So we're going to go back to our our data here. And there's that cell that is producing some torrential downpours over Wayne and southern Oakland counties. On the east side, some very heavy downpours. We have a couple of flood warnings. We can show you our warning map. The two greenish warnings, those are the flood warnings for parts of Monroe and Wayne counties, but the tornado warning is in effect until 1:15. Yeah, we're dealing with a tornado warning at this very late hour. We're going to go back to our reflectivity data, and we're going to move up from Wayne County into the downriver areas, and we're going to loop the data. Yeah, we're getting reports the sirens are sounding in Wyandotte and Southgate and Taylor, and for good reason. We're going to use our velocity data to show you the spin that is occurring over this part of Wayne County. It's easy to see the spin, and again, the Doppler radar doesn't show a tornado, it just shows the spin, but this spin is right there crossing central Wayne County, and so a tornado warning is in effect until 1:15. There's Dearborn right in the center of your screen, and where the reds and the greens come together, that's the strongest rotation, and it is right over Dearborn and Dearborn Heights as we speak. So we encourage our viewers, our listeners, to stay inside and be away from windows in the lowest part of your house until this storm passes. It is moving steadily off to the north. The two best ways to get a hold of us are fox2detroit.com and also our Facebook page. That's how to get us reports of damage. We will not be surprised if there are trees down, if there are power outages. Notice that rotation is right over Dearborn right now. Very strong rotation has once again spun up over parts of Wayne County. The same storm produced tornado warnings down in Monroe County, and now this spin is over Wayne County. ML Elric, you're joining me now. It's good to have you this late night.
Yeah, Rich, you're doing an amazing job keeping people updated on this. I just got a note from my wife saying, be careful driving home because the roads are terrible, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers who are watching right now, sorry if you're missing TMZ or page 6. But
it is what it is, man.
This is information that could save your life, and I'm sure there are people saying, well, why do we have to be that concerned about a tornado warning? What's the difference between a tornado warning and a tornado watch? But as you say, if you're not prepared, one of these things hits.
That's right.
It's a mistake that you'll never recover from.
These nighttime tornado warnings can be exceptionally dangerous because most of us are in bed. We're done for the day. And so here we are, you know, sleeping, and all of a sudden we hear sirens go off, and it takes a minute to realize what's happening. So what's happening is the Doppler radar is indicating this strong rotation right over central Wayne County. We did have this storm down over Monroe County about an hour ago, but it did weaken a bit, but now it's strengthened up again. That's not uncommon. We're going to zoom in even further and show you the communities affected. There's Inkster, there's Dearborn Heights, there's Dearborn, there's Melvindale, Taylor, there's Telegraph Road right in the center of your screen. There's Michigan Avenue. These are heavy populated areas. And so with these kinds of storms, extremely dangerous with the heavy populated areas and the late hours. So that's why if you're tuning us in, get inside, stay inside, away from windows, the lowest part of your house. Tornado warning continues until 1:15. ML, we don't see this kind of rotation very often. And it's been a quiet, severe weather season. We have not had a lot of active weather in the last 9 or 10 weeks. But here we are. That spin is awfully close to Detroit now. There's Dearborn right in the center of your screen. There's Garden City. There's Melvindale. The radar won't show us the tornado on the ground. It doesn't do that. It just shows us that rotation, and it's easy to see the rotation coming up on 1 o'clock in the morning. ML?
Yeah, no, even a layman like me is looking at this and saying, boy, I'm glad I'm inside right now. And I think there are a lot of us who trust you, your expertise on this. And there's always that question, is what's scarier, a warning or a watch? And
yeah, there was never a watch. A watch is when they put an area under, a higher alert for these dangerous storms. But this storm had rotation as it moved north from Toledo, crossed Monroe County, and this one cell in particular is just a highly rotational storm. There it is. It's easy to see the action that's going on up in Oakland County, in Macomb counties. Not nearly as strong, but there's that strong rotation. Okay, David, fire away.
Yeah, well, Rich, we're just wondering if I've just gotten a note here from our producer David Blanks, who says that we have a lot of viewers who may have just a crawl space, or they may not have a basement. You're saying to get to a low place, but if I'm in a house where maybe it's a ranch house, or maybe there's no place for me to go, what advice, besides, stay away from the windows, sort of the obvious things, don't go out there and be a storm tracker.
That's right.
Don't shoot your home video. We'd love to see your pictures and your videos
You're not going to see much. Yeah, you're not going to see much at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's just, it doesn't work that way. So that's right. Not all homes have basements or crawl spaces. So you want to be in the sturdiest part of your house. Oftentimes that can be a small bathroom, an interior part of the house, away from outside walls, away from windows for sure, because oftentimes debris will come flying through the windows and you can get into trouble quick. So interior parts of the house, small bathrooms are good. If you have a basement, that's the best place to be. But there's that rotation churning across Wayne County. It is now leaving the downriver areas behind, and the strongest rotation is up there around Dearborn and Dearborn Heights. And again, we're getting into some very populated parts of Detroit, as you know. There's Highland Park, there's Redford up there. So we're going to zoom back out and continue to show this tornado warning for Wayne County until 1:15. We don't have a lot of ground truth, meaning it's not a good time for spotters to be out there at 1 o'clock in the morning looking for, funnel clouds and tornadoes. But with the rotation being indicated on radar, we have to assume that a tornado is working its way across Wayne County.
Now, I've been monitoring the Monroe News website, and they put up the warning at 11:48. They have not put up anything since then, so I don't know if that means the reporters have gone home for the night or they're taking cover. But when you first started giving us the update on this, this was well south of us.
That's right.
And now it seems like it's moving up into Wayne County, which is right in the heart of our viewing area, and it's a place where, unlike some of those spots in southwestern Michigan, you're going to have a lot of people, a lot of population, and it's a Tuesday night, so I don't know that anybody's closing the bars down exactly, but at 1 o'clock, you're going to have people who are out and about, maybe leaving the soccer game, maybe leaving some of our great restaurants, and as they're going from point A to point B, hopefully they're getting a message from their loved ones saying, get someplace safe right away.
That's why, we use these siren networks, because a lot of people are sleeping, but they're hearing the sirens, they're jumping up, they're putting on their TV, and this is what they're seeing. They're seeing this spin on radar, easily seen. It's very close to Dearborn, if it's not over Dearborn right now. And we just don't see this kind of rotation, ML, on local radar in Southeast Michigan very often. I've been here 21 years, and I would say 10 times in 21 years have we seen this kind of deep rotation evident on radar.
And is there a point where that evolves into something where we say, you know what, this is anti-M, this is time to grab Toto and get out of Dodge?
It's there. I mean, we're there in Dearborn and Dearborn Heights. You should be inside. Obviously, you're inside at this late hour, but you should be away from your windows. There's I-96. Very close to where Telegraph crosses I-96. These are populated areas. I mean, it's house after house after house. So, we don't want to hear about, a tornado moving through this part of Wayne County, including Detroit. I mean, this is the west side of Detroit being affected with this strong rotation. Let's zoom out, and we'll show you that spin coming up from Monroe County, now right over central Wayne County, and that is why the tornado warning continues until 1:15. Let's show you the warnings we have. We have a couple of flood warnings with the heavy rainfall, but there's that red bullseye right in the middle of Wayne County. That's the tornado warning. We'll go back to our velocity scope. And, well, there's a good look at the reflectivity. So that just shows you the rain, heavy at times for a good chunk of southeast Michigan. But when we use the velocity data and then we loop it, you can see the spin. And it's easy to see right there. And we're going to zoom right in on it. So that's what the Doppler radar was designed to do.
So that thick, brighter green area, that is what we're concerned about. That is where you do not want to be underneath that thing.
That's right. It's where the reds and the greens come together, right there over Southfield Freeway and Telegraph Road. This is Dearborn. There's Dearborn Heights. It's moving up towards in the direction of 8 Mile Road. So it is crossing a highly populated part of Wayne County. This is a tornado warning. It is until 1:15. You may be hearing sirens going off where you live. This strong rotation is crossing central Wayne County, very populated. Dearborn Heights. There's I-96 in Telegraph, very populated area. So we encourage our viewers, our listeners, to get inside and stay inside until the storm passes or weakens. But right now, we have every reason to believe there is damaging weather occurring over central Wayne County. There's that rotation again, ML. And again, it's where those reds and greens come together that indicate where there's a twisting motion in the lowest part of the atmosphere. There's Dearborn and Dearborn Heights. We're not going to be surprised if we get power outages. We want people to be safe. That's what we want.
Now, Rich, we're hearing from some of our viewers telling us that there's power out in Wyandotte, that sirens are going off in Allen Park and Garden City. So that's downriver.
That's right.
That's coming up 75 from Monroe right into the heart of the metro area.
That's right. And it's this velocity data, the reds and the greens, spinning there over Wayne County. And that is the reason why the Weather Service up in White Lake has this tornado warning in effect until 1:15. We also have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings for Macomb and Wayne County. We're going to go to our warning map and show you that this cell is moving up to the east side of Wayne County, Hamtramck and St. Clair Shores and the Grosse Points. This cell may indeed get up into Macomb County for Warren, for Sterling Heights, for St. Clair Shores. But the most ominous part of the cell is where the rotation is, and the rotation is showing up very well on radar in central Wayne County. I'm going to put this into loop for us, and there it is. You can see it. You can see the spin in the atmosphere moving in the direction of Highland Park. It's left the downriver communities behind. So if you have any damage, if you have any reports, fox2detroit.com and our Facebook page are the best ways to get a hold of us.
And Rich, we're getting reports now that people are hearing sirens going off in Harper Woods. So again, that's taking you through the metro area. You're through downriver now. Now you are headed out to Macomb County down there. It sounds like the Macomb County Care was evacuated. Excuse me, the Monroe County Fair. Let me be clear on that, folks. The Monroe County Fair was evacuated, and they're trying to establish whether there's any damage there right now. Obviously, if you're watching us, we're going to try and keep you up to the minute on this thing. We want you to be somewhere safe. There are people who may be out and about who can't watch us. At least we hope they're not watching us while they're driving. If you are reaching out to those people, if you're calling a loved one to try and give them good advice, if someone's in a car right now, what should they be doing? If they can't get to a basement, if they can't get to that safe area in the house, that bathroom, that sturdy room in the center of the house, what should motorists be doing? We often see motorcyclists pull off under overpasses when there's heavy rain. But where do you go to get as safe as possible if you are out and about in a vehicle of some sort?
Well, ML, when it's raining, when there's thunder and lightning, a car is a very good place to be. But when there's an actual tornado or there's damaging wind gusts, a car is not a good place to be, because cars can be lifted off the ground. I know it sounds crazy. It happens all too many times down in Tornado Alley in that part of the country. So with this strong rotation moving across central Wayne County, that is why there is a tornado warning. Notice where some of the reds and greens are coming together. It's Dearborn and Dearborn Heights especially, but this strong rotation is getting up close to the 8 Mile Road. But this cell was over Monroe County an hour ago. And Monroe County is a much less populated part of our viewing area.
Right. And we thought it would be over at 12:30. Here we are, 1 o'clock in the morning, and this thing is not going away.
That's right. This circulation is still very evident on radar. And we can zoom in with the velocity data, the reds and the greens. It's not the way you normally look at radar data, but what it shows is that circulation right over Dearborn Heights. And so we have to assume that there is a strong circulation close to the ground, and that's a tornado. That's what it is. The radar won't show the tornado, but the radar shows the strong circulation, and that's what it's showing right now over Wayne County. So if you're watching from Dearborn Heights, if you're watching from the west side of Detroit, there's Hamtramck, there's Dearborn Heights, there's Dearborn right in the middle of your screen. That's where the rotation is centered. You got to assume that dangerous weather is crossing your area. So that's why we want our viewers, our listeners to be inside, to be safe, to be away from windows, because we don't get this kind of weather all that often. It can catch you off guard, and it can happen very, very quickly.
Right. And our purpose here is not to scare you. It's not to alarm you. It's to inform you, and it's to keep you safe. And Rich, if someone is calling a loved one who's in a car, if they're in the Dearborn area or anywhere where they're noticing this very severe weather, would it be prudent for them to try and get off the road and get into a building, get into some sort of business, a restaurant?
It's a judgment call. It's a judgment call, ML. You know, you don't want to give people the wrong advice, but when there is a tornado on the ground, a car is not a great place to be.
Right.
Inside a sturdy building, a home, in the lowest part of the home, away from windows. But cars are not great places to be. Thankfully, it's 10 after 1 in the morning, and we assume there's not a lot of people out and about.
We hope not.
We hope not. It's been raining for much of the evening, so people are inside, but this circulation continues to show up quite well on our Doppler radar. It's right over a very populated part of Wayne County. You know, we're talking about Dearborn and Dearborn Heights. There's Inkster, there's Garden City.
Now we're hearing some thunder in the studio now, and we're in a pretty safe place here, so that gives you some idea of how nasty this is. If we didn't have this very serious weather situation, we're looking at this very angry red and this very active green.
Yeah.
What colors would these maps be that if we were just having a nice, peaceful summer evening?
Right, so we can go back to our normal reflectivity data. This is what people are used to seeing with radar. They're used to seeing reds and oranges and yellows. We can loop that data, and you can see the spin with this cluster of storms that's come up from Toledo and Monroe County. You can easily see the spin. But the great advantage to Doppler radar is we can use the velocity data, and then we can loop it, and then you can see the spin even more, a higher resolution of the data showing that spin churning very close to where Telegraph Road and Southfield and I-96 intersect. There's Telegraph and I-96, and again, there's that strong rotation. There's the Southfield, and there's I-96, very strong rotation. That's the danger zone right now with this circulation. It looks like there's some other circulations close to Dearborn Heights in Dearborn, so there's a few little spins going on within the larger circulation. All of it means danger. That's what it all means. So we're getting reports of the sirens going off. If you're watching from the downriver areas, the worst has passed the downriver areas, but now we're up into Dearborn and Dearborn Heights. ML?
Now we're hearing from a trained spotter that there's 60-mile-per-hour gusts, that there's flooding on Telegraph and Eureka Road. So now we're in a situation, and in Lincoln Park, those gusts were 60. So again, that's downriver.
Yep.
There's some heavy winds. When you're talking about Telegraph and Eureka, you're coming up from downriver, you're coming into the heart of the metro area. Water, wind, this swirling, this loop, this sounds like if you're outdoors try and get indoors as soon as you can.
That's right.
And this is not a time to take a chance. This is not.
That's right.
You're not Bill Paxton. This is not a Twister. This is not a movie. You're not going to sell the video to our TV station or any other one. And first of all, we're not going to pay you for it. But second of all, what's your life worth? And I got to believe that getting someplace safe is the best investment of your time.
Absolutely. And your kids and your animals, just keep them inside. Interior parts of your homes, basements if you have it, away from windows. I can't stress that enough. Just
expired 115.
Away from windows. So here's the latest. The tornado warning has been allowed to expire at 1:15. We're going to go back to our warning map. So we have 2 flood warnings for Monroe and Wayne counties. We have 2 severe thunderstorm warnings for a part of Wayne and a part of Macomb. But it appears that the rotation has weakened a bit. And as a result, the Weather Service has not continued the tornado warning. We're going to wait this one out, though, because there is still some evidence of rotation in this cell. Let's go back to our velocity data, and we're going to loop it.
Well, and even if we have had this warning lifted, the roads don't dry instantly. The winds don't die down immediately, and it sounds like
there's still some dangerous weather out there.
This is not a place for man or beast to be caught outside. If you got the top down on your convertible, probably time to put it up and get that thing in the garage.
ML, perhaps the spin is not quite as tight as it was 30 minutes ago. You can kind of see there is still a circulation out there, but not as tight, and so that's why the tornado warning for the time being has been allowed to expire. Still have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings for parts of Wayne and Macomb County. Let's go back to our reflectivity data. And this is your basic radar look. This is what people are used to looking at, this kind of data, and we're going to loop it. And you can see that spin is still there, not as tight, but we're talking about torrential downpours up there along 696 from Southfield over to Warren. There's Highland Park. There's 8 Mile Road. Very heavy downpours along the Southfield and 8 Mile. We're going to zoom back out and show you the larger picture. So the greens that you see behind the data, that's the flood warnings for Wayne and parts of Monroe counties. But there's that dangerous cell producing some high winds. We do have reports of trees down for many parts of central Monroe County. That was about an hour ago, but it's the same storm that's been moving up from the Ohio-Michigan border region, now crossing 8 Mile Road. It's the same cell. It hasn't weakened a whole lot, but that strong rotation has weakened a bit.
Do we have a sense of when this will pass through our area? Is this going to linger here for a little bit, or is it going to keep moving from Monroe to Wayne and then just go north of here and maybe get out over the water? Or will it continue to go through the tip of the mitten?
Well, thankfully, it's moving. It's not stationary in one area. It's moving up to the north. You can see it lifting to the north, moving up closer to Pontiac, closer to M59, closer to Warren and Sterling Heights. Certainly, there's a lot of weather going on tonight, but it is a late hour, and most people are inside.
Sure.
There's not a lot of state parks. There's not a lot of people camping where these cells are right now, so that we can hope for the best. That people are inside, and in fact, morning may come, and there might not be a lot of damage, and that's good.
Sure.
Better that way, and we go through this process of warning people, and we don't want to cry wolf, of course, but we're erring on the side of caution here. And so as this storm rolls through a very populated part of southeast Michigan, we're just going to stay with it.
Yeah, and it's a classic, better to be safe than sorry. If you wake up tomorrow and you say, boy, I wish I hadn't been listening to Luderman all night, that is what we want. Yeah. We want you to wake up and say, you know what, Captain Luderman warned me, he kept me safe, nothing bad happened. We would much rather that situation happen than you don't wake up in the morning because you were out there playing horseshoes at 12:30 in the morning when a 60-mile gust came and knocked you off your feet.
Couldn't agree more, ML. It does look like this rotation is weakened a bit. It's not as pronounced as it's crossing northern Wayne County. We can zoom in and show you that there is still some rotation. That's where there's Highland Park right there, for example. There's Highland Park. But thankfully, there are no active tornado warnings, so that's a good thing. It's weakened a bit, the rotation. Let's go back to our basic radar look. This is our reflectivity data showing the very heavy rain sweeping up through the area. Notice how there's not a lot of lightning. You can see a couple of lightning bolts in there. It doesn't always take these big, vigorous thunderstorms like we get at 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the afternoon to produce some of these damaging wind gusts, but it's out there.
Okay, and we're also getting a report that police want people to avoid down lines on Oakwood,
okay.
And that's in Melvindale. Police again are saying if you're in Melvindale on Oakwood, stay away. We've got some down lines at Oakwood and Dix Toledo roads. Again, you know, if you see a down power line, you know, we shouldn't have to tell you this, but we again want to err on the side of caution. Don't try and grab it. Don't get too close to it. Don't see if it's sparking. Stay away. DTE, you can call the power company. They have an app on your phone. You can let them know what the problem is, that there's an outage, there's down lines. They will try and get to it as soon as they safely can. And we want to be concerned about our safety workers too. If you see police, firefighters, ambulances, everybody knows what the law is, but let's remember, get to the side of the road, try and make a clear way for people to get there where they can help other folks, because for all you know, they're going to help someone you know, someone you care about, someone you love, and someday, God forbid, they may be coming to help you. We hope that doesn't happen, but let's make things as safe as possible for everybody. If you don't know what you're doing, don't do nothing. You know,
there could be some slow going tomorrow morning, because when you get power outages, you get some underpass flooding. You know, it's late right now. It's 1:20 in the morning, but sometimes it takes time to get it all cleaned up and put back together again. So, you know, areas around Melvindale and the downriver areas that have seen some down lines, yeah, it's going to be some slow going tomorrow morning, and that's just the way it is. There's nothing to do about it, ML.
Well, it sounds like that whole I-75 corridor has been hit pretty hard with some weather tonight, and some weather that it sounds like was not expected. I mean, this thing got. I mean, you've been talking about rain and having some, you know, some of these beautiful days we had are going to get a little damper, but this seems like it came fast and furious.
And that's Mother Nature, ML. There was no watches, there was no tornado watches or severe thunderstorm watches. We really weren't expecting severe weather tonight. We were expecting rain, some of it heavy. We're getting all of that, but here this one rotational storm came up from northern Ohio, held together, crossed Monroe County, crossed Wayne County, and again, thankfully, we don't have a lot of ground truth that there was a tornado on the ground, and it's better that way. Better that there was not a tornado, but still strong and dangerous weather crossing I-696 close to Warren, around the Detroit Zoo right now, some very heavy downpours, and thankfully it's a late hour, so not a lot of people are out, but we will likely have some slow going in spots tomorrow as a residual. Now this storm is going to be long gone come daybreak. By 6 o'clock in the morning, this storm is going to be in Ontario, and there's really not a lot behind it. There's not a lot of weather coming at us from Ohio. Like, this is it. This is going to be the peak of it, and it's going to wind down as we get closer to daybreak. But it's been active, and we've seen this strong rotation for now about an hour and a half coming up from Toledo. We'll go back to our velocity data and loop it. And you can see that there is still some rotation in the lower levels of the atmosphere, but we're not getting that tight rotation down at the surface. And as a result, the Weather Service has discontinued all the tornado warnings. We did have a tornado warning for central Wayne County for the last hour or so, but that has been discontinued, and that's a good thing.
And we're still worried about the flooding. We're hearing that some roads are flooded. We have some lines down. Is it possible to gauge the flooding now compared to where we were a few years ago? We had the highways just completely underwater, going all the way up the overpasses, and I'm thinking particularly of people out in Clinton Township, out in Warren, where they didn't have basements, they had crawl spaces, and some of those houses were, you know, had to be torn down because they lifted up, they were destroyed.
You know, the radar that we use today is so powerful. Now here's some rainfall totals for the last 3 hours, and you can see that green in parts of Wayne County, indicating upwards of 2 inches of rain, not far from the airport up into Dearborn. So when you get rainfall totals 1 to 2 inches in a short amount of time, any place can flood. Any place can flood. So, you know, what are susceptible are the underpasses that we've seen so many times, but it can take hours and hours to get it all back together and clear the pumps and get everything working again. So we'll zoom in and show you that Monroe County, thankfully, you're doing a lot better now than you were. We're going to slide up to, we got to change our source. There it is. Thankfully, the weather's getting a lot better in Monroe County. The worst of it is clearing Wayne County. The strongest part of the storm is now lifting into Oakland and Macomb counties. There is no continuation of the tornado warnings that we had 1 to 2 hours ago. So it looks like we're going to be winding things down. But again, it's a late hour. The flooding issues that are out there are going to continue until daybreak.
And the yellow and the orange, is that what we need to be concerned about? Do we want to see that move out of our area?
We want all of this to get out of here. These are all heavy rain indicators. Okay. These reds and these dark oranges, those are where the heaviest rainfall is right now. And we can zoom in and show you anywhere from Farmington Hills to Southfield over to Warren. Very heavy rain on the east side. Let's tell you about the 2 severe thunderstorm warnings that are left. No tornado warnings left, thankfully. But those small areas of orange, those are severe thunderstorm warnings for Macomb and Wayne counties. They expire at 1:45, so that's another 20 minutes. The green areas are the flood warnings for Wayne and Monroe counties, those until 4 a.m. So there's a lot of weather going on. Thankfully, people are sleeping and they're missing out on it. Right. And that's a good thing.
And don't go out for a gallon of milk right now, folks. Let this sort itself out. And Rich, when you say that the rain totals are 1 to 2 inches, that's more of an average, right? I mean, there are some places, if you're in lowlands, you're going to have way more than 1 or 2 inches. It's not like every single square inch of Michigan is going to have 1 to 2 inches. There could be less some places and quite deep in others.
It's urban flooding, you know, because of all the concrete and all the streets and all the bridges and the underpasses. You can get water to collect in some wild places. If you remember a few years back when we had all the flooding in Royal Oak, I mean, that was, you know, that was not the same thing that we're looking at tonight. That was heavy rainfall over 3, 4, 5 hour period. Okay. Thankfully, this storm is moving. It's on the move, so we're not going to see those crazy flooding issues that we had back in the day. But nonetheless, you know, don't be surprised come tomorrow morning if there are some slow going spots because of the flooding and because of the power outages that we've seen and the trees down. It's going to take a while to put everything back together, but this one cell is on the move now into Oakland and Macomb counties. Thankfully, there is no tornado warning with this cell. There is still rotation. You can see it spinning, but it's not the tight rotation that we had 1 to 2 hours ago through Monroe and Wayne counties.
And so that concern, that danger that we're warning about people about in Monroe and Wayne County, as it moves north, as it moves into Macomb and Oakland, this is nothing to sneeze at, but the danger is not quite as great as there was an hour or two ago when we were really concerned, and the National Weather Service was also concerned that this could turn into something. Notice
the greens and the reds. We're going to zoom in to that spot where there is still some rotation. But we're not seeing that tight rotation where the reds and the greens are right next to each other. It looks like the strongest rotation right now is right where I-75 and 696 merge, where they intersect, 75 and 696. But thankfully, there is no tornado warning from the Weather Service, and as a result, this rotation is continuing to weaken. That's a good thing. There should not be sirens going off in any of these communities. Typically, it's done only when there's a tornado warning or very high winds expected. That is not the case. Let's go back to our reflectivity data, and we're going to loop it. There it is. We can get rid of the warnings, the flood warnings. So still a lot of heavy rain, still some gusty winds. It's the area along 696 between Southfield and near the zoo right now. Very heavy rains. There's Warren, there's Sterling Heights, and West Bloomfield all getting heavy rains. But thankfully, it's a late hour and not a lot of people are out.
And as we're looking at this, green is rain, yellow is more rain and orange is the most rain. So if you got to be in an area that's got some color, you want to be in the green area, because orange is, nobody's building an ark yet, but it's not a good time to put those tulips out. Thankfully,
no tornado warnings have been extended. So our last tornado warning was discontinued at 1:15. It's now coming up on 1:30. We're going to stay with it until 1:45. That's when the severe thunderstorm warnings for Macomb and Wayne County will expire. So the strongest storm right now is along 696 from Southfield to the zoo, but there are still chances for some damaging wind gusts on the east side, Grosse Pointes and St. Clair Shores up to Sterling Heights. So as a result, we're going to stay with it. We don't have a lot of reports of damage, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, and again, just to recap, we've been hearing from viewers and others that the Monroe County Fair was evacuated. They're trying to evaluate if there's damage. Power was reported out in Wyandotte. We've heard reports of sirens in Allen Park, Garden City, Harper Woods, and Taylor. Down lines in Melvindale, in the Oakwood, Dix, Toledo area. Police are warning you to stay away from that. And we've also heard of flooding in the Telegraph and Eureka area. And at one point, 60-mile-per-hour gust reported in Lincoln Park from train spotters. That is not a cool summer breeze by any stretch of the imagination.
No, typically once we get wind gusts above 50 miles per hour, we start to get the power outages and the trees and the limbs down. So it's usually the limbs that cause the power lines to come down. So 50-mile-per-hour winds is that magic number where we start to get damage. We did have a couple of reports of 60-mile-per-hour gusts.
Yeah, and now we're hearing from train spotter. There's 3.9 inches of rain in Allen Park. A caller tells us that Woodward and I-75 is experiencing torrential rain, so that's a pretty heavy-duty dousing for a main artery. And of course, getting anywhere, even in the best of conditions these days, is treacherous with all the construction. So with the water and the rain, and who knows what those construction sites are going to look like with this water rushing through it. Tomorrow could be a pretty sticky commute. So hopefully people will tune in the morning. We'll try and help you find your way through that. But for the moment, it sounds like things are looking better, but still, this is something we want to keep an eye on, and still there's warnings going for at least another 15 minutes.
That's right. We have severe thunderstorm warnings for small parts of Wayne and Macomb counties. We can show you the warning map, and that's where the areas you see in yellow there, those are the warning areas of Wayne and Macomb counties. We have a couple of flood warnings where we've had better than 2 to 3 inches of rain in spots, and as a result there is some urban flooding going on. We're not going to see massive rises of the Rouge and of the Clinton rivers, but it's the urban flooding that can be just as affecting. It can affect a lot of people, this urban flooding.
It doesn't take much water on the road for your car to hydroplane, for those storm sewers to get backed up, for you to find yourself in a place where your car is up to the rocker panels and you do not want to try and drive through that. Please, folks, do not try and drive through these puddles. Nothing good is waiting for you, even if you get to the other side of that. But I think, Rich, one of the things I heard you say that I was very encouraged by is that this is not like the flooding that we had a few years ago, where people like me had no idea there were so many low-lying areas between work and home until we saw overpasses
underwater.
I mean, I've never seen that in 50 years.
That was some slow-moving storms back then. These storms, thankfully, are on the move. They're not lingering in any one area for a very long time. Now, we had reports of 2 to 3 inches of rain in some spots with the passage of these storms, and that's certainly going to cause poor drainage flooding, without question. But the magic number, ML, is 4:30, because that's when Fox 2 News morning starts. 4:30.
I can hardly wait. I think I'm pulling an all-nighter, Rich. This is we got to get some popcorn out here now that it seems like a lot of the danger has passed. But this is, again, this is something that you don't want to take for granted, because this could have just as easily been something where we're talking about tragedy at 4:30 in the morning, and hopefully what we're going to be telling people is this is cleared through our area, and here's how you can get from point A to point B with minimal disruption, with minimal trouble, because I'm sure there's still going to be some flooding there. I'm still sure there's still going to be some power lines down and crews out there trying to restore power. But at this point, it sounds like that mixing of the red and green that can be so dangerous. They seem to be going their separate ways.
Yes,
which,
you know, this circulation is still there. I mean, it's been here for almost 2 hours now from near Toledo. Now it's starting to wind down close to Detroit. Thankfully, the rotation is not as strong as what it was, and that's a good thing. But it's been a pretty wild night, that's for sure. Let's go back to our normal reflectivity data. This is what people are used to looking at, and we'll loop it, and you can see the atmosphere is still churning along here with these strong, dangerous storms crossing parts of Oakland and Macomb counties. Even in the east side of Wayne County, over close to the Grosse Pointes, still some possibilities of damaging wind gusts, but it's now becoming an event where it's the torrential rains that we're all missing out on. We're all inside and we're all sleeping through it. We're all inside our homes. If it was the daytime, we'd have a lot bigger mess because we'd have the traffic jams and we'd have all of that going on. But thankfully, it's 1:35 in the morning. David's good to go. When David's good to go, we're good to go. Anything you want to share, David?
Just that you've already done a great job. That the tornado warning expired at 1:15. Right now, the main concern, according to the National Weather Service, is flash flooding.
Yeah.
As ML mentioned.
Yeah, let's go back to some of our 3-hour rainfall totals. So where you see the green, that's better than 2 inches of rain that has fallen in a 3-hour period. Now we can put there's 2.2. Again, that's a lot of rain in any area, whether it's urban, whether it's country, rural. You get 2 inches of rain in a 3-hour period. That's a lot of rain, and it's going to cause poor drainage flooding. Let's go back to our normal radar look. There it is with that cell. And there is still some weak rotation, without question, over Wayne County. But the rotation is not as tight as what it was. So more of a threat now moving forward of heavy rainfall, poor drainage flooding, heading into the early morning hours. And we're going to say it again, 4:30 is when Fox 2 News Morning starts.
That's right. We'll get you traffic and, of course, the weather. We'll get you in the right way. And I tell you, Rich, I think about how much my lawn needs this rain. But one of the things that I've always been confounded by is when your lawn is so dry and you get a lot of rain, it doesn't absorb. It doesn't soak right in there. Yeah. So here I am saying, well, this is kind of scary, but at least I got some rain. But maybe it's not going to be as beneficial as I might have thought.
Some rain is better than no rain. I'm in the same boat. My grass looked terrible for the last couple of weeks, and
my crabgrass is doing great though. I'm very proud of those 6-foot-inch spikes of grass in between the creeping Charlie and everything else.
We can laugh about it now, ML, but this was one of those nights, and we don't get many of them, where we have serious weather, potentially serious weather crossing populated parts of our viewing area. You know, we go out to 9 different counties, and Wayne County, Oakland County, Macomb County, Washington County, that's where most of our viewers reside. That's where they live and work. And so here it is, one of these severe signatures of rotation moving through Monroe County a few hours ago, now crossing Wayne County, and it's starting to spin down. It's starting to weaken the rotation. So we're not concerned so much of tornadoes, but it's still the heavy rain and the gusty winds and the nuisance that it can be for just people. It can be a nuisance.
To provide some perspective, you had said earlier that you hadn't seen this sort of activity, maybe 10 times in the last
Not that often. You know, we go back and we saw the rotation out in Dundee when we had the tornado there. We saw the rotation in Dexter that many years ago. But we don't see this kind of strong rotation very often in Southeast Michigan. We're not famous for tornadoes here.
Right. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Yeah. But obviously, you go back to 1997, you know, we had tornadoes in Detroit, in the metro area. And we're going to use our velocity scope one more time and show you that there is still some rotation, but it's not as tight as what it was. That's for sure. It's crossing from Hamtramck, crossing 8 Mile south of Warren. So we're going to go back to our normal radar look, our reflectivity. This is what people are used to seeing.
And when you say reflectivity, what's being reflected?
Yeah, the radar is sending out waves of energy. It's bouncing off the raindrops, and then some of that energy comes back to the radar site, and we see the deeper, darker red showing where the heavier rains are.
Okay.
Still some flooding rains, and we're going to stay with it. The severe thunderstorm warnings that are in effect for Wayne and Macomb counties, parts of, are in effect until 1:45. Thankfully, that's 6 minutes from now. Still some flooding issues, some flooding concerns. There's going to be some interesting video and pictures tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah, we'll have it. We'll have crews out there.
What's that time? Give me that time again.
I think it was 4:30. In military time, that's 4:30.
4:30.
So for those of you in the barracks, those of you in your bed, it's the same time, 4:30 a.m., which is not that far from now. But when we look at this weather and we look at this rain, we're grateful that this didn't develop. But what are the odds that this could be extended past 1:45? Because again, we thought this tornado warning was going to be done at 12:30.
Yes.
And they kept pushing it back and pushing it back. And
that's right. There's a chance. I mean, there's still some rotation. There's still some, odd-looking reflectivity here. There's, we don't want to say it's a hook, but there's this appendage that's hanging down south of Warren back towards Hamtramck, and it doesn't always take a tornado to get these big winds.
Right.
We can have some straight line winds embedded here, close to Hamtramck, close to Warren, Harper Woods, the east side, St. Clair Shores. You can easily get a wind gust out of this cell 60, 70 miles per hour. And that's why we're encouraging people, just stay inside, away from the windows until this cell gets out of there, until it weakens and moves off to the north. And, by 4 o'clock in the morning, all of this activity is going to be long gone.
That'd be great, but
yeah.
the aftermath will be there. We're still going to have down power lines. We're probably going to have some intersections flooded. I imagine some of these construction sites are going to be spread out a little further across the road than I was in Hamtramck this evening, and Holbrook Road was torn to pieces.
Right.
It was filling with water just with a light rain. Now what we've seen go through Hamtramck in that part of town, I've got to imagine a lot of those places are going to retain some of that water, and it's going to be very treacherous for both pedestrians, people in vehicles, and if you got a bike, just forget about it.
Speaking of people in vehicles, Taylor, Pardee, and Eureka, a transformer has blown. Power outages, dangerous situations.
Taylor.
Stay away. Pardee and Eureka in Taylor.
Yeah.
So that's more downriver calamity.
I have good news in Taylor. The strongest weather for the downriver areas, for Taylor, for Inkster, it's gone. I mean, you have seen the worst come and go, but still we're looking at some of these stronger cells. There's Southfield, there's Warren, right along 696. Hamtramck still seeing some potential for some damaging wind gusts, and we're going to stay with it until these warnings are either canceled or they expire at 1:45. That's coming up in 3 minutes. But just give yourself some time in the morning, ML, because from the downriver areas through Detroit, there's going to be some flooding issues. Certainly those underpasses are always a bear.
Yeah, and it sounds like this is getting up into Oakland County as well. You talked about going through Pontiac, so it sounds like all of southeastern Michigan, all of our metro community is experiencing some heavy weather, which comes at the end of, geez, I was telling you the other day that people were looking for Luderman's head a while ago, but this weekend, the past few days, people are loving you, and now it's no rest for the wicked here.
That's right. Thank you, ML. I appreciate that. Notice a little bit, still a bit of rotation, not far from Hamtramck, from Warren, but the point is that it doesn't always take a tornado to make for some damaging wind gusts. We can get some of these downbursts to come out of these cells, and you can get some wind gusts 50, 60 miles per hour. ML, you got a report there.
Yeah, again, we're hearing more warnings to avoid certain roads. Plymouth and Telegraph, there are cars stuck in the water. That's a treacherous situation. We're advising people to avoid Plymouth Telegraph area. We've had reports of flooding, torrential rains at Woodward and 75. There are some other concerns downriver. So we are not sure what the status of the flooding at Telegraph and Eureka are, but these rains don't necessarily recede as quickly as they come.
Yes.
So if you've been advised at any point this evening to avoid an area, probably a good idea to heed that advice better to be safe than sorry.
Right.
Who wants to call their insurance agent and make a claim, because we all know what those rates are like. So, you know, if you're in your bed with your nightcap on, that's probably a good place to be.
ML, we want to just tell everyone the threat for a tornado is quickly diminishing. These severe thunderstorm warnings for a small part of Wayne and Macomb counties are going to expire in about 2 minutes. But it's the flooding and it's the aftermath of flooding that may linger well into the morning. So we want people to take their patience with them tomorrow morning. You know, this urban flooding can be in one area and not the other. It only takes one underpass to cause all kinds of problems. So we want to encourage our viewers and listeners to be patient. David?
Speaking of the underpass, southbound I-75 at 696 is flooded over. Do not go to southbound I-75, 696. You're going to work, you're getting out of the bar. Avoid that area. It is flooded over.
Right, 75 and 696. That's a famous spot, because that can cause many a problem, and it looks like the worst of the weather is lifting north of I-75 and 696, but the damage, it sounds like, has been done in that area with the flooding. But you know the crews, they're hardy, and they're going to be out there. The Wayne County crews, the Detroit crews, Oakland and Macomb County crews, they're going to be out there.
That's it. We got the dream crews. This is the nightmare crews. They're trying to keep everything held together. And you talk about the urban rain and the urban flooding. For those of us who live in old neighborhoods, I live on Detroit's east side, this kind of weather can be particularly treacherous, even if you don't have a flood, because those old tree limbs come down, they hit power lines. We've lost partial power at least half a dozen times since May, so I'm anticipating that we're going to have some neighborhoods where those trees that were just hanging on, that somehow got it through the earlier bad weather this summer, this may be the time when they finally give up the ghost. And when you have those transformers blowing, when you have those lines coming down, again, keep your animals indoors, keep your kids away from those things. And if your power's out, I think you want to keep your head on a swivel when you leave the house, just to see what hazards might be awaiting you out there.
Thankfully, the worst of it is lifting out of Wayne County. But, you know, we don't forget our friends up along M59, because you can have the same problems up along M59 that you do down in Detroit, down on the underpasses. So if you're watching from the Troy area, from Pontiac, from Mount Clemens, you know, some of this heavy rain weather is coming in your direction. It looks like it's weakening. You can see there's a lot less red than there was an hour ago. So the rains are starting to taper off, but nonetheless, there's going to be some slow going for morning commuters. And we're going to tell our viewers 4:30 is when Fox 2 News Morning starts, and you're going to want to tune in and see where it's all happening and where it's getting cleaned up.
It's always well worth your time to check before you go, to know before you go, especially tomorrow. And folks on the east side, anybody who knows the construction on Mound Road, Van Dyke, you get out that way, it's treacherous in the best of conditions. We're telling you right now, folks, we don't have the worst of conditions, but we're closer to the worst than the best conditions, because there's a lot of water out there. It may take a while to drain, and I mean, this could
be a mess tomorrow morning in spots.
This is why you check out Rich Luderman, because he can save you a lot of trouble. He's not responsible for the bad weather. Coincidentally, he is responsible for all the good weather. I don't know how that works out, but this is where you want to listen to the experts, because a lot of us amateur meteorologists would be in a lot of trouble right now if we were running around in our yards waiting to see Toto come down on that bike.
All right, here comes the end. We're going to sign off. This is it, ML. So it's now coming up on 1:48 in the morning. We've had some active weather. The worst of it has been across Monroe and Wayne counties. We did have tornado warnings. They have since expired, discontinued. The flash flood warnings that are in effect for Monroe and Wayne counties expire at 3:45. So even though the heavy rains are lifting north through Oakland, Macomb, and St. Clair counties, there's going to be some flooding concerns heading into your morning commute. So we want our viewers to get updated on our Facebook page, fox2detroit.com. We want our viewers to tune in at 4:30. That's when it all starts. We want to thank Z and Jeremy. We want to thank Rob and Lori back there, and Mike Schulte,
David Blanks. And
David
of course,
Blanks.
Everybody who called in, sent a message, sent a text, post on Facebook letting us know about those situations. Our eyes and ears out there. It's so valuable to have our Fox 2 viewers and the many people who make this such a great station, helping us keep you informed, because we really do need to look out for each other. That's really the important thing.
Thank you, ML. I appreciate the help.
Oh, Rich, man, I tell you what, I was waiting to applaud at 12:30 when you came off the set. Here we are. It's almost 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
You're the Iron Man, and hopefully you saved some people a lot of difficult times.
Send us your pictures, and David, thank you. Anything further from you, David?
Latest, we have 8 Mile and Lasser flooded over. We have some spectacular video that we're working on from the Taylor area, Pardee and Eureka, where we had that transformer. It appears one of our viewers may have captured that on tape.
Great.
We are still working to confirm with local authorities what happened there.
Okay.
But
we'll have it for you in the morning, I'm sure. 4:30. 4:30. David's going to be here at 4:30. Derek and Jessica will all be getting ready. Thanks again. Be safe, everyone, for the rest of the night. All the severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings have been canceled or discontinued. Now it's a flooding concern and cleanup concern heading into the morning, and we'll have it all for you at 4:30. Good night.
This is so different from anything we've seen you do.